Okay, hello, Pedro Cardillo. Please introduce yourself to my audience.
So I'm a Brazilian-born and London-based director of photography. I've been working in film, TV industry, and also in commercials for like 3 decades now.
Nice. Yeah, I just watched a trailer to the miniseries Joan, which you worked on. So, did you find that to be a rewarding experience? Looks like a good show.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was my first TV drama in the UK, and was a 1 hour episode TV drama limited series. Shot just I was the only DOP for the 6 episodes, along the director, which was also the same director for the 6 episodes, Richard Laxton, and starring Sophie Turner as the lead character.
Yeah, cool. And she plays a sort of a complicated character. She's a mom criminal.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story based on a real character, which is Joan Hannington, which was supposed to be the best and the most famous diamond thief in London in the 80s. So she plays this kind of she kind of loses her daughter. She's struggling to take care of her daughter. So she kind of loses her to foster care, and then she tried to come up with a plan to be wealthy and have a normal house. Then she starts nicking diamonds, and it's a crazy true story.
Sounds somewhat relatable and nuanced. Sounds like there's some depth to it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a very interesting character because she's just in the beginning she's quite young. She's like early 20s. She has this like four-year old child, the 6-year-old child, and then she's just really struggling financially, struggling with her ex-partner who is involved in crime, like in minor stuff, and she just sees herself in a touchy, very difficult situation. So she went to work in this diamond shop, and then it's like a that's how she kind of starts, kind of an act of opportunity, an act of despair, actually. So she's kind of living in between two worlds. She wants to be super glamorous. She want to be part of the 80s kind of jet set in a way, but also she wants to be a mom. She wants to take care of her daughter. She wants to have like a normal family life, and she's kind of torn between those two different appealing worlds.
Okay. And that's people can watch that on BritBox.
Yeah, Reebok CW in
Uh,
the States,
Okay.
and ITV in the UK. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So you said you've been working as a DOP for some time now. Who are some contemporary cinematographers or DOPs that inspire you, and who are some of the goats? Who are some of the best of all time, in your opinion?
Oh, this is a tricky one. I mean, when I I have always been a film buff since I was like a kid. So like in my for like formative years, I watched Blade Runner. I watched The Godfather. I watched Alfred Hitchcock's films. So this Stanley Kubrick. So those films like left a very lasting impression on me. That's why I wanted to create very powerful images. So Gordon Willis, he was a New York-based DOP who shot Godfather, shot Annie Hall with Woody Allen. He's a fantastic cinematographer. I love his work. Contemporary now is Roger Dickens, the English Oscar-winning cinematographer, is also a very strong influence on me. So there are so many um, powerful visual storytellers. I love Vittorio Storaro, the Italian DOP who worked with Bertolucci and then shot Apocalypse Now, shot Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty.
Hmm.
There are so many names. We're going to be here for hours.
Yeah. Okay, here's sort of a useless but interesting question, I think. What do you think is the most visually accomplished film ever?
Oh, this is a tough one. This is a very tough one. I mean, I'm I really, really like the visuals of Blade Runner, the original one. I think the kind of apocalyptic future they created in LA with all the rain, like the acid rain, the neon lights. It's really, really striking, really visually impressive. I also think The Godfather is an amazing, it's very lush, very kind of polished image, but it's also very clever because Gordon Willis never lit Marlon Brando's eyes. So this is like a very clever cinematography decision because as we say, the money is actually on their eyes, the actors' eyes. So you receive notes from the producers if you don't properly light their eyes. For example, on Joan, the director asked me, so we gotta connect to Sophie Turner's feelings. We gotta see, when she sees a diamond, the thrill, and when she's losing her daughter, we're gonna see the drama. So her eyes have always to be lit. So it was like the opposite direction from The Godfather, which I had always. So the gaffer and I, we came up with some tiny devices to light their eyes, like inside the safe when she's nicking the diamond, or when she's like hugging the daughter. And it was very kind of tiny location, so we had to come up with very tiny, small sources to make her eyes pop.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
yeah, because this is it's a very interesting thing. The first thing we see on an image, whatever there's an image, we always look for the face. If there's a human figure, you go to the face, and then after finding the human figure, finding the face, you lock with the eyes. You look into the eyes of this human figure. So that's why sometimes some costume designers are presenting boards. They cut their faces off, and you see the whole outfit. Otherwise, you just keep looking at the eyes of the model. You just kind of keep, that's where we connect. So on Joan, I had the need to always be telling the story through her eyes. And Gordon Willis, when he shot The Godfather, and he said on several interviews that the Godfather is such a dubious character. So you don't want to see his eyes. You don't know what he's doing, what he's scheming, if he's favoring you or not, if he's telling the truth or not. So that's why he's not lighting his eyes. So that's I think it's really striking. For Joan, for example, I relied as major references. I relied on two visually striking films: Paris, Texas from Wim Wenders, fantastic look, fantastic cinematography by Robbie Miller, a Dutch DOP, amazing. And also Brian De Palma's Scarface by John C. Alonso, also an amazing American DOP, which is also he. It's so amazing, Scarface, because he has the luxury part, the jet set, the trendy Miami 80s vibe, but also has the grittiness of the drug dealing side. So those two references were really important to me to kind of bring the 80s into the show. And they're very inspiring. But when I start testing, I realized that look, although takes you straight back to the 80s, it shouldn't be it should be revisited, should be referenced but not copied. So instead of although I used lots of lightings and lots of color in the lighting as they used in the 80s, I came up with a little bit less saturated look. So I was kind of emulating the 80s, but also there's a memory side to it because everything's not so vivid. It's like a little bit subdued and less saturated.
Oh, it's
That's
really
what I mean. I
interesting.
made a very long answer.
I love it.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. It's really interesting to hear you talk about it and how you take these references, but you do something different with it. You maybe do the opposite of what the lesson was, even though you love the original thing. Like you were talking about Marlon Brando's eyes, for example, and then you guys did the opposite for Joan. It's really neat. Do you think cinephilia is maybe like the first step to take to enter cinephilia to begin a career in making movies?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously you gotta love the art form. You gotta really, see it as an art form, not only entertainment. I really adore it in the sense that I think it's a very uh, I think it's the ultimate art form is the 20th century art form because it's a visual storytelling. So I love painting, I love stills photography as well, and I love theater. And I think film is the combination of them with literature, with story. So it's amazing. But you're telling stories visually, and that's why Hitchcock is one of my favorite authors because since he started shooting his films in the era, he had to tell the story with the camera, so it's gotta be visually told. See, there's a very good interview from Alfred Hitchcock when he says that he doesn't like everything to be explained in dialogues because this is only pictures of people talking, which is right in a way. So his camera is always kind of describing the scene and making the audience know what to look for. So that's why I really like filmmaking as an art form, as a visual storytelling medium, and I think that's the way when you connect to that, then it's kind of starts. But obviously, it's a tough life behind the camera. It's not for everybody.
Right, right. Okay. And talking about visual storytelling, tell me a little about the music videos you shot. And do you feel like that this allows you to be more open to experimentation, or and then that complements these miniseries and movies and other things projects you work on?
Yeah, I mean every audio visual piece has like a concept. So sometimes, depending on the project, if you're shooting a music video for a very glamorous singer, so your concept, like, let's say your visual concept is to make her look very pretty, very sexy. So this is sometimes if you're shooting for a heavy metal band, and then you probably your visual concept is going to be another. You want to show strength, power, or darkness. So this is in I really think what is really interesting is to be able to navigate between different projects because the when you're shooting a TV drama takes so long to be made. So you get involved like for the DOP gets like involved for 9 months, sometimes a year, sometimes even longer, and then you're committed to one world visually. And then when you have the chance to shoot a commercial, and then the next week you shoot a music video, and then you shoot a short film, so you can experiment, you can do other stuff. You're shooting a car commercial, there's nothing to do with shooting a beer commercial, and then there's nothing to do with shooting a music video, but you're always learning and inventing stuff. New lighting schemes, new lenses, or testing in a way.
Nice. What do you think makes you a particularly good DOP?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I think every obviously, I mean, cinematography is as the ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers, describes our role is the art and the craft. So there is an art element in the sense that you need sensibility, you need to study art in several forms, so painting, history of art history, architecture, fashion, and so on. And also there's the craft. So the craft is how you're going to achieve with the tools we have how we're going to achieve the image you want. So you have to know how to manipulate the lenses, the f-stops, the frame rate, the lighting, and that's what is really, really, really interesting about being a cinematographer. So I know several colleagues that kind of emphasizes more one side than the other. And the way I see myself, I don't see I see myself as a storyteller in the role of a DOP. I'm all about telling the story, so I'm really a translator of the director's ideas into images. That's what I think is my major quality, I would say. I really the director doesn't need to understand anything about photography. He needs to communicate about emotions. I always ask the director, how do you want the audience to feel? And then when he tells me, I said, okay, so now I know what kind of lens I need, what kind of lighting I need to create to make the audience feel that way, or for the audience to perceive the scene in a particular way. So I'll
Would you?
say I'm a visual storyteller.
I love it. I love it. Would you ever consider directing, or have you?
I have directed like short stuff, commercials. Uh, I co-directed music videos, but I really like to be a part of the band. I'm not a solo act, so I used to play in bands. So I used to play bass, and and so I'm happy to be the bass player. I'm happy to make the groove go on and let the actor do his solo, the director does do his solo. So and I'm there in the in the back, just making everything groove, keep the pace, keep the rhythm.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Well, it was a really interesting conversation. I appreciate your insights, and I want to thank you for your time again, Pedro. Is there a final message you would like to end this interview with?
Oh, Michael, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me. It's been really a pleasure. And I mean, I love so much filmmaking that I can be talking about it for hours and hours. So, I mean, if anybody would like to check my Instagram, Pedro underline Cardillo with double L, just to check and maybe drop me a text about filmmaking, or about films that we both love. It would be amazing.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Michael.